Hi guys, welcome to another Rants video. So last week, a little over a week ago now, my brother and a bunch of the other guys in my family, they went on a trip to Canada to do worship with a bunch of guys, like so many boys. But anyway, naturally, because of that, I raided my brother's movie shelf. So yeah, he's got a shelf of probably over 300 DVDs at his house. And we have movie night on pretty much a weekly basis. And so I've been talking about raiding his shelf for a while now, and we thought, what better time than when he's gone and we won't be able to have movie night for a week, and I can just watch things. I was in between series and stuff anyway, which is part of the reason I haven't been making Nerd Rants videos for the last 2 weeks. But anyway, so yes, I took a dozen movies from his shelf, and today I will be talking about all of them. It'll be, at least, I'll try to keep it short for the most part. As we get through, I'm going sort of in order of which ones I liked better, and like from least favorite to the ones I most enjoyed, sort of, and also a little bit in the genres. So I'll try to be brief, and as we get further into them and more towards my top 3, we'll get more into that. And so the farther we go with these, the more spoilers we're gonna get. So anyway, we're just gonna go right off and start with Annihilation. It's a good movie. It's a cool movie. I just honestly didn't enjoy it a whole lot. It might have been partially because it was the day that they left and they flew out at really early in the morning, and so people showed up at my house to carpool at like 3 in the morning, and the dog started barking, and so I was woken up at like between 3 and 4 in the morning, and I was just off for the rest of the day. So that might have been part of the reason that I didn't enjoy it as much, but I don't know. It was a very cool movie, and the concept of this meteor crashes and the radiation or whatever it's emitting is changing the landscape, to like, it's like, I think they explain it as it's refracting DNA or something. It's refracting everything, and so everything's off and mutated, and it's very interesting, and the whole world is cool with how things are combined and how things have like mutated and evolved within this sphere of its influence. But the ending is very confusing. It's not super conclusive. I'm pretty sure I understood what happened, but I also didn't. I spent probably 5 to 10 minutes after the movie just kind of talking through the ending of it over and over and over, trying to see if I could make any more sense of it, and I couldn't. So it's very much you sort of understand what happened, and that's the best you're gonna get, is sort of. So yeah, it's kind of a cool sort of sci-fi-ish movie, but yeah, very weird, confusing ending. Next, he told me to watch the first 2. I didn't quite get that far, so I watched the first Alien. Again, it's a cool sci-fi movie. The alien, with the effects for the alien, are very cool. It looks great. Ripley is literally the only smart person. From the very beginning all the way to the end, you're going like, no, why are you the only person who is smart? Everyone else is dumb. Why are you the only one that's like smart? And not like in a weird modern feminism way, like she knows everything and everyone else is just stupid. Like, the other people are intelligent, but we're in this situation, this very unknown situation where they're dealing with aliens, and the rest of them just are very dumb about how to deal with it, and are making irrational decisions. Granted, one of them, his top priority is to get an alien asset back to Earth, and that's pretty much his only goal at this point. But everyone else makes a lot of times makes really dumb decisions. Like, oh, this guy got an alien, literally an alien latched onto his face. Ripley's going, no, protocol is we quarantine him for 24 hours and see what the heck happens. And they're like, no, we're just gonna let him into the ship and put him in the med bay, and we're gonna deal with it. It's like, yes, I understand wanting to help your friend, but there's a freaking alien latched onto his face. Yeah, so in that sense, like, they're all intelligent, but pretty much every other character just makes stupid decisions. And she's the only one that seems to be calm enough to make a rational decision, which is kind of great. We have the duality of Ripley being this calm, collected, smart, making rational decisions throughout this whole movie, and then we have Lambert, the other girl, who is damsel in distress, freaking out the entire time. And they're the only two girls, and it's just very much the two sides of how females are portrayed. One, a very good, strong female character, and the other one just like, I'm incapable of doing anything. I am too shocked and panicked to do anything, which is a very legitimate reaction. But it's funny to see the two sides of them doing that. Yeah. So it was a solid movie. Kind of on the same level as Annihilation. I didn't enjoy it. It's not like I had loved it or hated it. I didn't have super strong feelings about it. It was a very interesting movie, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I love this. So, next is Night House, which is a creepier movie. A lady's husband commits suicide, and that's how we start the movie, is she's dealing with that. She starts finding out that he has this whole other life that he's been living. He's been hanging out with girls that look like her, that look a whole lot like her, and he's been building a mirrored replica of their house, so it's everything but it's reversed. And she's having dreams of like something chasing her or whatever, but she just keeps digging, and she's got all these people going, no, this isn't how you deal with grief. But she can't stop, because she's like, I've discovered this and I have to figure out what the heck is going on. And it was very interesting as it unfolds and it gets darker, and they like use, because this whole time she's seeing basically this silhouette. She's seeing this silhouette that's following her. And how they portray that with perspective and using her surroundings to make the shape of the silhouette is very cool, because she's standing there and then the camera will move until you see what she's seeing, and it's this silhouette of a person, this almost clear silhouette of a person, and you're like, that's a weird perspective, that's like a weird perspective thing, and then it moves and you're like, what the heck? Oh gosh. But yeah, it's really cool, and the enemy being thing, whatever you want to call it, throughout the entire thing, this is a huge spoiler, but it's referred to as nothing, and it's basically what you see after you die is nothing, and that's how she describes it. And it turns out nothing is actually some sort of spirit or demon or something. And because this lady cheated death when she was younger, this thing, nothing, is after her and trying to use her husband to get her back, in which case, die to kill her. And so her husband's been tricking this thing by killing women who look like her. And her uncovering this, it's very good. Yeah, it's a very good movie. Very enjoyable. And just a very interesting concept of how it works out. And I love that the thing is called Nothing, because it has little hints of it. They're dropping hints that this is what's following her throughout the whole thing, but using the term nothing. And so, like, her husband's suicide note is, you were right, nothing is there. Nothing is chasing you. You're safe now. Because he can't use me to try and kill you anymore. But doing that, and our concept of what nothing is, and then at the end of the movie realizing, nothing is an actual thing in this. It's an actual entity, and it is whatever is waiting for you after death. It puts it in a whole nother perspective, and it's a very cool, by the end of the movie, this whole different understanding of what the note means. So yeah, that one was interesting. Next. Whoops, upside down. Smile. Another creepy movie. This one's genuinely creepy. Cause literally, it's a therapist. She watches her patient who killed herself. And this patient had just described that there's something following me, and it takes on the shape of people, strangers, people I know, people who have been dead for a while, people I know who have died years ago, and it stands there and it just smiles at me, and no one else can see it. And she describes this, and then she kills herself in front of this therapist, and then the therapist starts seeing it, and she's realizing, oh, this isn't in the girl's head, this is real. And discovering what this thing is, because it's another nondescript entity of some kind. But anyway, and following the trail of this back, because this student had watched her professor brutally murder himself, or brutally commit suicide, and then she just proceeds to do the same thing in front of her therapist. And so this therapist is seeing that and going, hold on a second. Because she learns at some point in the movie that the professor had also watched someone brutally commit suicide. And she's like, there's a pattern here. And so her figuring out, how do I beat this? How do I break this cycle? And it's creepy. Because my brother described it, obviously, to try and get me to watch it without spoilers and all that. But so he describes this to me, and I put it in, and I'm going, how does someone just smiling at you drive you nuts? I quickly learned how. Yeah, it's brutal. Because it takes on the form of someone she knows. And it doesn't immediately sit there and smile at her, like it talks to her. And then all of a sudden she gets a phone call, or she sees something or whatever, and she realizes, oh crap, you're not who I think you are. And then it smiles at her, this super unnerving smile, and she's just like, holy crap. Oh man. It's such an unnerving movie, and it's genuinely creepy. And by the end of it, I was just done. And not like in a I'm too scared kind of way, or I hated this kind of way. I was just done. Like, my brain couldn't do the brain anymore. Have you ever, in a book series or a movie or a TV show or whatever, you get to the end of the series, it's over, there's nothing happening after that, or you get to a cliffhanger and then you have to wait a week for an episode, or wait a year for the book, or whatever. You get to a point where you reach the end of something, and it's just, your brain can't move on for a solid couple minutes, and then you have to physically get up and start moving around to make your brain start working again because you just can't. That's what happened at the end of this movie. I just sat there in moderate silence. I was kind of saying a little bit of nonsense, like things that didn't necessarily make sense. And then I was saying actual words, but they didn't like necessarily fit together in a sentence. It was just, yeah. And I sat there for probably 5 minutes like that. And then I had to get up and walk upstairs to get a drink of water because I needed my brain to start working again. So that's what that movie did to me. Am I weird? I'm the only one that has that kind of reaction to movies and books and stuff because where you just can't brain anymore. Yeah, it was a good movie. And with both of those, it's like not one that I absolutely love, but still a very cool, very interesting movie. Okay. I have a very wide range of movies, ranging from horror to sci-fi to just absolutely ridiculous. And so now we're getting into the ridiculous section. Let's start it off with Hot Rod. Okay. I would like to know what the heck these people were high on when they made this movie. Like, what drug or what hallucinogen or whatever would you have to be on to even come up with this movie in the first place? And then what would you have to be on to go through with it? It's just the most random, ridiculous movie I have ever watched. So many things make no sense. It's very much in the vein of Nacho Libre and Napoleon Dynamite. It's that style of movie where it's just the most random plotline and it's just the most ridiculous way of it playing out. And so, as a whole, the movie's just, what? You get to the end of it and you're like, what the heck did I just watch? But there are just golden nuggets sprinkled in there. There's a scene where he's mad at his dad, and so he runs out and he rides his bike into the woods to let out all his feelings, and he just starts dancing. Out of nowhere. And so there's a whole minute sequence of him just dancing through the forest and doing acrobatics, and then he trips and he falls down a mountain for probably a minute and a half. It's just the most ridiculous thing, and it makes no sense, but it's hilarious. And it's almost better without context, honestly. Watching it without context is almost better than actually just watching it in the movie. Oh man, but it's... And then they're walking to do this big stunt because he's raising money to save his stepdad so that he can beat him up. Yeah, plot line. And the town starts following them and singing the background with the background music, and they're all confused. And then all of a sudden a guy throws a trash can through a window and the entire town just starts rioting. And it makes no sense, but it's so great. Because you just sit there going, wait a second, what the heck just happened? You never know what will happen in these movies. They're not predictable because it's just the most outrageous things possible. and it's fantastic. So yeah, I got to the end of that, and I was just kind of staring at the screen going, what the heck did I just watch? Oh man. So yeah, that one's an experience. In that same vein, Spaceballs! Again, what were they high on? What the heck were they high on when they made this movie? For those who don't know, it is just the most blatant parody ripoff of Star Wars. And it's basically, it's just a low-budget ripoff of Star Wars. Where it's almost the exact same plot, but they just changed the name of things so that no copyright infringement. It's so ridiculous. I don't even have words to describe what on earth happened in this movie. It's just something else. Yeah. I literally have nothing else to say about Spaceballs. It's just insane. Okay, we're gonna move on. We're getting into the top 6 movies now, so probably some more spoilers. Little Shop of Horrors. For those who don't know, I am a bit of a musical butt. I love musicals. I have an entire playlist on my Spotify that is just musical soundtracks. It's so good. The story honestly makes no sense. A guy finds a kid that was orphaned, got adopted by this florist man his business is going under. It's not going well. They live in the trashy part of downtown. Anyway, this guy finds an alien plant that feeds on human blood. And they find it, and he's like, oh yeah, this is the plant. They set it in the window, and they instantly start getting business. Yeah, people come to see the interesting plant, and because they're there, they buy flowers. And so he's feeding it his own blood so that it grows. And soon it gets too big for his blood to suffice. And so this plant starts talking to him and telling him that he needs to kill someone and feed it to him so that the plant can survive, so that the business can survive. And so his love interest, which is another employee, the other employee from their flower shop, is dating a sadistic dentist. There's an entire song about it. And the dude just loves causing pain, and so he became a dentist so he could cause pain for a living. Yeah, just the most ridiculous character. And so things happen. The dentist gets killed and fed to the plant, and then the main guy's boss finds out that Seymour, the main guy, thinks he did it because he saw him chopping up the dead body to feed to the plant, and so he gets eaten by the plant. And then so many things happen. Seymour gets famous. He gets the girl of his dreams. They try to get married and run away before the plant finds out, and then they have to fight it. It's so ridiculous. The story makes no sense, but it's also, the movie's based on a Broadway musical, and honestly, musicals all have a certain level of ridiculousness in their plot lines. They all just do. There's not a whole lot of musicals where it's just a super realistic situation. Mad Ones is an exception to that rule, I think, but a lot of them are like Beetlejuice and Heathers and Mean Girls, and they all have some ridiculous twist to them, and they're not super realistic. And it's just one of the charms of a Broadway musical. And so the plotline makes no sense, and it doesn't have to, because you're having such a good time with the songs. And the songs are great. We have like the three black girls that are what would you call them, chorus girls or whatever? Anyway, they're there for every single song, and they're not like actual characters in the real world per se. They're just there. It's sort of like the muses from Hercules, where they sing songs and they kind of tell the story of what's happening, but they're not actually like characters in the story. And they're great. Like, they all sound great, and they're wonderful characters. I love them. And they remind me of Dr. Doofenshmirtz from Phineas and Ferb. He's got a song to explain his backstory in like every episode. And then he just has chorus girls that just appear out of nowhere all the time for almost every single line, every single song. And that's what it reminded me of, because they're just singing songs, and all of a sudden there's these three black ladies in some sort of outfit that fits the theme of whatever setting they're in, singing backup vocals, and it's great. It's so great. I love them. Also, Audrey, who's the love interest, she has this super, super high-pitched voice for her character voice. And I think that was a choice made to show her, like, helplessness and femininity. I mean, great choice. It very much displays that. But her singing voice is not that. She has a very strong singing voice. And so when she goes from this weak, high-pitched voice and then she starts singing, and it's just not that. It's kind of jarring. And it's just like that singing voice should not go with that speaking voice. It's so different. I mean, she has a great voice, but it does not match her character voice, her character speaking voice. And it's very jarring. Oh man. But probably the most impressive part of this entire movie is the plant. This giant alien plant. Once it gets, it's a puppet. It's bigger than a person. It's big enough to eat a human being. It is a puppet. And it has vines that move around like arms, and its mouth moves, and it's just like flawless. It's so good. They have an entire fight scene with this plant when it catches them trying to run away. And it's wrapping around things, and it's swatting them aside, and it's just so well done. The puppeteering is so great. It's so good. It's so impressive. Gosh, it's just wonderful. And on the topic of puppeteering and puppets, The Dark Crystal. This entire movie is puppets. Every single character is a puppet. Because it's a bunch of different species. We have... Crap, does this say... what? Skeksis. Skeksis. Yeah, Skeksis. We have the Skeksis and the Mystics, and there are podlings, which are like cute little creatures. We have gelflings, which are elves, essentially. We have landstriders. We have crystal bats, which basically work as spies for the Skeksis. And we have, I don't remember what their soldiers are called, but like crab soldiers. There are just a whole bunch of different species, and every single one of them is a puppet throughout the entire movie. And it's so good. The puppeteering is so great, to the point where there were moments I totally forgot that they were puppets. The Gelflings' faces seemed like they were less mobile and then, or like less movable than the other puppets. And so when you saw their faces and them talking and whatever else, that would remind me that they were puppets. The Landstriders, because of how like their anatomy and their legs were, they moved a little bit jerkily, and so, but those were like the only two things that would remind me that it was puppets. Throughout the entire movie, I mean, I kept having to remind myself, these are puppets. These are freaking puppets. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. And the plot was really good too, because we have the giant crystal that is like a symbol of balance, and it has magical balance throughout the whole realm. And at one point in history, it gets broken, and a shard of it is lost. And then that magic is weakened and darkened, and we have the Skeksis, which are using it to prolong their lives, and the mystics that practice old magic. And then we have this Gelfling who's orphaned because the Skeksis, there's a prophecy that a Gelfling will reunify the crystal, and the Skeksis are terrified because they're like, the Gelfling's going to destroy us, and so they wipe out the Gelflings, or so they think. This one escapes and lives with the mystics, and then gets sent after the shard of the crystal. And so it follows his quest. He finds a girl Gelfling, and so hope for his race, but that's very much on the down low part of it. It's I mean, there obviously, but it's not the main point of it. And just, it's a really good plotline. And I forgot they were puppets a whole bunch of times, and it was so good. And the concept of the mystics, throughout the whole movie, we're like, oh, the mystics and the Skeksis are basically enemies. And then, 1 second, what's Jen? It is Jen. Jen, the main Gelfling who's going after the shard, he finds it. Because of the magic of that, the mystics sense that, and they go, oh, it's time to go back to the castle. I'm like, oh, okay. So this is a minor subplot that's you get updates on throughout the movie, and it's just them traveling back to the castle. I'm like, okay, whatever. They're doing that for some reason. And then as we go through, and some of the Skeksis get killed, and some of them get injured, we start to see a parallel between them and the mystics. And by the end of it, you realize, oh, they're two halves of the same being. And so they unify the crystal, and then the Skeksis and the mystics also reunify and become what they originally were, which are these powerful, balanced creatures of magic. And it's really cool. It's really cool. And I very much enjoyed it. And again, the puppets are insane. It was just insane how good the puppeteering was. I can't get over it. It was so great. Okay. Contact. Also a great one. Great one. So, this astronomer lady, she's kind of obsessed with finding aliens, because of reasons, backstory, all that, you know. And she's leasing out a government site that has all these different satellites that can, you know, reach into the depths of space. And she picks up a transmission from a different galaxy. And so throughout the movie, they're trying to decipher it, and the governments are getting involved, and different stations are getting involved. And there's a whole, they're trying to decipher what it is, what it means, obviously all these different things. What are these aliens trying to tell us? They eventually figure out that it's blueprints for a machine And so they have to figure out how to decipher the blueprints, and then they find out that there's a person. There's a seat for a person in there. And so then they have to figure out who the heck is going to go on this mission. And it's good. And then there's weird timey-wimey stuff at the end. And you have the whole question of, with all the different people, like, did she actually experience what she says she's experienced? Because, like, the timelines don't match up. Everyone saw her just drop through this machine, and she's claiming she's been gone for hours and seeing all these things, and it's good. It's good. Very interesting, very cool, very enjoyable. Okay. Time for the top 3. And, spoiler warning ahead. I've done a little bit, I know, for the last couple movies, but these ones we're gonna get into because I love these ones. So yeah, no particular order. My top 3. Halo 4, Forward Unto Dawn. I grew up watching my brothers play Halo, and so I know a lot of, like, the alien species and, like, what the Spartans are, and I know general stuff about the game. But I did not know about the crap ton of lore that we have, and about side characters, and this follows the origin of one of the side characters. So, camping. My brother was getting all into it and talking about how much he loved it. And wanting me to get into it. And so he told me I had to watch this movie. I did. It's great. It's great. I absolutely loved it. It has Anna Paquin, who, for those of you Narnia kids out there, is Susan Pevensey. This is the third TV, like, cinema thing I've seen her in. Yeah, which is unfortunate. She's great. But it's so good. It's a very short movie, which is fine. They get a lot packed into a short movie. But all the Covenant aliens are great. Master Chief shows up, and he's awesome. Oh, there's so much. There's so much. So we're following Lasky, Thomas Lasky, who, for those of you who have played the game, you probably know who Lasky is. And it's following him and his squad in military training, and it leads up to the first Covenant attack. But we have Lasky, who is he wants to settle this war with the insurgents, rebels, whatever, and he thinks this has been going on so long, I want it to end, but we don't have to end this by fighting and killing all of them. And so him in a military camp being trained to kill insurgents, and him struggling with that and disobeying orders and all these things because this fighting is unnecessary. We need to stop it. But yeah, it's a very good movie. Very enjoyable. I watched it twice. Once by myself. Like, it was the first one I watched because it was the one Reese had kind of been getting on me about. And then I watched it again last weekend because my boyfriend was in town and we were hanging out, and he had just come off of a week of counseling a bunch of grade schoolers, and so he didn't want to do much of anything. And so I was like, hey, I have a whole stockpile of movies from my brother's shelf. You could just come and watch one of them. So we did, and he's played Halo. He likes Halo, so we watched that, and yeah, enjoyable. I liked it. It was very fun. The aliens were great. It was good. There's not a whole lot to say about it because it's a very simple movie, but it's so good. Okay. Next, The Matrix. My best friend has been getting on me to watch this movie for over a year, probably like 2 years now, and I just haven't. One, because I didn't really have immediate access to it. It's like, my brother owned it, but he doesn't live with us anymore, and I didn't have like a streaming service that had it on there, so I just hadn't watched it. And so that one got into the pile, and pretty quickly into our little like half an hour decisions time of picking movies. And it's great. It's so great. Part of the reason I think I enjoy it is because it very much parallels a book I'm currently trying to write, where it's this kind of dream world that people are trapped in, and some of them don't actually know it's a dream, and there's these agents that do know it's fake, and they're coming after people who realize it's all fake and are actively going against that. The part where it varies is the enemies in my book are not AI robots. It's just straight up the government. And the agents that are chasing people who know it's a dream are actually people, and not programs. But yes, they're very similar in the sense that it's a fake dream world that they're essentially trapped in. Yeah. It's so great though. It's so good. One, because of the concept. This concept is just great. Also, the characters are so good. I love Tank. I don't know why, but I love Tank. And when I thought he died, I was very mad. It's like, no, you are not allowed to kill Tank. Tank is my character. He is my baby. You can't kill him. And then he wasn't dead, and I was so happy. The fact that I get more attached to side characters than main characters, sometimes it's a problem, but it means that the side characters are interesting, which is a good thing. Come at me. I love side characters. I have a Percy Jackson fanfic series that I wrote on Wattpad, and I could not write a side character to save my life. They all became fundamental characters in some way. It was ridiculous. They're all my favorites though too. Some of them were more interesting than, I have like 3 main characters that I wrote. Most of them were more interesting than the third one, but some of them were more interesting than like the first 2. It was great. Oh man, but yes, the movie's great, and I see why it's kind of a classic, and everyone was getting on me about watching it, and now I need to watch the rest of them. It's so good. First of all, Keanu Reeves is just a great actor. I like Keanu Reeves, and you know, all the things I've seen about him as a person are great. Like, there's a photo of him on the internet somewhere. He stole a camera from a paparazzi and ran away with it. It's amazing. So Keanu Reeves is just great. And I love him playing this character because we have, you know, figuring out, oh, my entire world is fake. None of this is real. And like, I knew this. Deep down, I knew something was wrong, but I never knew what. And him discovering this and becoming a rebel, oh, it's great. Discovering that he is, like, the chosen one, essentially. Oh, it's good. It's good. And it just makes me want to write my book about dream, people trapped in dream and all that so much more, which is great because I love the story and I want to finish it. Anyway, Matrix is great. I love it. Tank is my favorite. Fight me, Tank's my favorite. But yeah, it's such a good movie. I really don't have as much to say about these as I thought I did. The last one I probably will, because Yeah, okay. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Probably, it might be the favorite of all of them. It might be my absolute favorite of all of them. It's so good. Okay, are you all ready for this? I don't care if you think you are. You're not. You're really not ready for this. It's Speed Racer. It is freaking Speed Racer. Do any of you know what that is? It's seriously. If you know what this is, please tell me. It's so great. It's legitimately a great movie. It has moments where it is just the most ridiculous thing, and like they will say something that makes no sense. You're like, what the heck did you just say? And the plot line is so ridiculous, but the movie is so good. It has an amazing brotherly relationship, and dude, it starts out this kid. And again, the concept is really weird. It's like, oh, I suck at school. All I want to do is race cars. And that's how they introduce it. And so it's very exaggerated in how they portray things. But anyway, so we have, and then his older brother does race cars. And they're just super close. And and their relationship is so great. And it's awesome. And then the older brother crashes and dies. And so throughout the entire first like 10 minutes of the movie, we're getting flashbacks between we have the main character racing, and he's like, it's on a track that his brother raced. His brother set the record on that track. And so we have him racing and going, like matching the speed of his brother's record. And it's him going through this race and flashing back to him and his brother, and them finding out that he died. And the sheer, dude, the emotions that they portrayed throughout that entire flashback, they were way better than they had any right to be. Like, that was so good. It was so good. And we had him finishing the race, and he could beat his brother's record. He could. And he hits the brakes and pulls back, and he misses it by like a split second. So his brother's record stands. And it's wonderful. It's so wonderful. I love it. Oh, it was so good. Okay. We're gonna get some of the ridiculous things out of the way. First, the age gap between, because they have 3 sons. There are 3 sons in this family. We have Rex, the oldest, the one who crashes. And then we have Speed. That's another thing. The main character's name is literally Speed Racer. Yeah. Anyway, so we have Rex, the oldest. We have Speed, who's probably like 8 years younger than him or something. I'm guesstimating. And then they have Spritle. What is that name? I don't know. But we have Spritle, who looks to be about 8 to 10 years younger than Speed. And was like, what are these age gaps? What is this age difference? Why? Spritle kind of looks like their grandson. He looks like he could be the parents' grandson. He's just so young. He's like 10 years old, and Speed at the youngest is probably like 18. Because he's through high school. We get confirmation that he is through high school. So at the youngest, he is 18. And then we had Rex, who looked like he had graduated or like just graduated high school during the flashback. So he was during the flashbacks at least at youngest 18. And I'm just like, this is a good 8 8-year age gap between all of them, and it's a little weird, but whatever. Also, Spritle has a monkey. Whatever. The monkey is just... A lot of the chaotic ridiculousness that happens in the movie originates with the monkey. But he isn't there that much, so it's fine. Also, this movie came out in 2008, which is the same year Iron Man came out. And we all know how great Iron Man was, the CGI and everything. This is not that. The CGI is so freaking bad. Like, it's horrible. You can tell, like, this is definitely not real. Like, none of this is happening. None of the races are happening. Like, the entire world is CGI'd and it's not done well. But it fits the vibe of the movie. Like, somehow, the CGI is so bad, but it fits the movie so well that I don't even care. It seems like a style choice, which honestly it might have been. But oh my god. So good. The plot is kind of ridiculous. So Speed, obviously, a great racer. Almost would have beat his brother's record if he hadn't, like, pulled back at the end of the race at the beginning of the movie. So he gets offered a spot on a, like, international team or a big name team. And so they go to visit, and he gets told the truth about racing, where the big Grand Prix race is rigged and everyone knows who wins and everyone's just in it for the money. And he's like, yeah, no, I don't believe you. He loses a qualifying race for the Grand Prix and meets an old Grand Prix winner and figures out the truth and gets, like, from that guy the implication that, oh yeah, no, that guy, the douche businessman, is telling the truth. And so he's like, what the heck? Why do I race? Why is this isn't right? Racing needs to change. And then he gets recruited by some sort of secret racing organization called the CIB, which fights corporate crime with racing. It makes no sense. But it's so great. And that is when we get introduced to Racer X, who is this mystery racer who always wears a mask so no one knows his identity, and he's an agent of the CIB. And so I knew from the beginning, and they weren't all that subtle, I knew it was Rex the entire time. I knew it was Rex. I was like, no way. You can't know his identity. He walked into the room. He was introduced, said his first line, like that first scene, and they sat down in his house and they're talking, and I go, that is Rex. That has to be Rex. No way. No way it's not. Rex faked his death and now he is Racer X. And I was right. They weren't subtle about it, and they try to throw you off by having him reveal his face, and it doesn't look like Rex, and Speed going, oh, so you're not my brother, and him coming to terms with that, because he attaches suspicions as well, which I'm glad, because it wasn't subtle. But anyway, he convinces Speed that, no, I'm not your brother. And then at the very end, they reveal, no, he is his brother. He faked his death, and he got plastic surgery so that he could hide his identity and his enemies wouldn't realize that he's still alive. And I just, like, oh, I knew it. And then he doesn't reveal it to the family. He doesn't tell his family. And I'm just going, what the heck, Rex? No, tell your family. They need to know you're alive. How dare you? And his reasoning is not telling that, like, main CIB guy goes, do you think it was a mistake not telling them the truth? And he goes, yep, but it's a mistake I'm gonna have to live with. And I'm going, no, you don't live with it. You tell them the truth, because that is not right. And the movie ends like that. I'm like, no, you cannot leave this unresolved. His family needs to know he's alive. You're not allowed to take that away. That Rex needs to have a happy ending. You can't take Rex's happy ending away. But they did, and it was so freaking sad. Why would you do this to Rex? He's such a good brother. Clearly, I'm very invested in this movie. Anyway, back to the plot. They're trying to get information from another racer who's been trying to take on essentially the mob, and so he can save his family's company. So they have to win a rally race, whereas basically just no rules. Essentially, so all the cars have gadgets and booby traps and all these things, and it's the most dangerous track possible, and they have to win in order for this racer to give them the information that they need, because they're on team of 3. They do. Turns out the racer's a douche who is just trying to raise the stocks of his company so that his dad could sell it for more money. Douchebag. And because they won, he gets an invitation to the Grand Prix. He didn't have to win the qualifying race. All he had to do was get that invitation, was win this rally race. He gets an invitation. He declines it. And so his sister, who is not a douche, brings the invitation to Speed Racer so he can go in the race and win, so he can change racing for the better. And he wins. And it's implied that, yay, racing has changed forever. Oh my gosh, it's such a simple, ridiculous plot, but the movie's so good. The movie's so good. His dad is just randomly like a heavyweight champion or something. And so they get attacked by ninjas. And his dad just beats the crap out of him. And it's just so great. It's so great. I love this movie and I'm way too invested. Oh, okay. I think that's all I have to say about all these movies. Yeah. I very, very much love all of these. They're so good. They're so freaking good. But some of them I enjoyed way more than others, but they were all very interesting. They were all very cool, and I love them. Why do I love it so much? I don't know. But yeah, that was my rate of my brother's movie shelf. Sorry for the ranting, for the very long video, but I thought it'd be easier just to do it all as one video than like 13 different videos. So yeah, there's my thoughts on all of these movies that I took from my brother's shelf. If you've seen them, drop your comments below. We can talk about them. You can also put requests or suggestions for books, songs, what AMV ideas, whatever, in the comments. I post videos every Wednesday and Friday, and I'll see you all next time.